This video and its verification form provides for meeting requirements for the MIST 2024 Surface Water Focused Outreach meetings. It is a requirement to review the video and return the verification form. The 2024 Surface Water Focused Outreach video verification form can be found at the Coalition's website and must be sent back to the Coalition. This video was shot live during the November 12, 2024 meeting in uncontrolled conditions and as such is not studio quality. To augment your understanding of the meeting, you can download the PowerPoint slides at the Coalition's website that were used during the live session. Interspersed throughout the video are 3 simple questions and answers. Transfer the answers to the video verification form described above and send back to the Coalition by May 31st, 2025 as explained on the form.
Good morning. My name is Joaquin. I'm with the Westside San Joaquin River Watershed Coalition. You're at the focused outreach meeting for the Los Gatos Creek, Mud Slough, or Newland Watershed watersheds and represented area. Again, my name is Orville. I'm with Summers Engineering. I'm the watershed coordinator for this coalition. We have with us today also Alani Blaye, Cures. We have Courtney Jala with us from Cures. They're going to be making a presentation here in just a moment. And right now, if I could, I'd like to introduce you to some of you. You may not know him, Zach Crippen, and he works with Water Land Solutions here in Los Gatos. Many of you may know the owner, partners of the company, Chase Road. He works with Chase, and he's helping us with some of these watershed issues, on-farm stuff. So I'd like Zach come this morning, if he would real quick, and he kind of introduce himself and give you a quick rundown of what we're doing. Thanks, Zach.
Good morning. As Orville said, my name is Zach Crippen. I work across the street at Water Land Solutions. I will be doing some of the on-farm surveys, which is a survey that you guys receive in the mail, but we go out and with a select amount of people, growers, and go out, kind of walk through that with them. It'll take about 30, 45 minutes. Kind of just go through all those farm management practices that are on that sheet, as well as discuss the ones that maybe aren't necessarily on there, but you go through it, go to different parts of the farm, look at the drainage, all those kind of situations, and just kind of have a conversation about what's kind of going on out there, seeing what we can do, and then there end up being a write-up afterwards that I end up sending to Orville, just about our conversation and what we've talked about.
And Zach, and what he's doing for us, a new component of the regional board is, I suppose you would say, negotiate with us. They don't think we're doing enough. This coalition, the along with growers, they don't think these meetings are adequate enough. They really want us to touch base with growers. So we're going to pick 5 different folks in each watershed that area to be representing. And we haven't decided how to pick yet. I'm going to guess we invited about 80-something people to be here. Our first group this morning was, I don't know, maybe a dozen. That's about a half dozen here today. And nobody's RSVP'd for the noon meeting. So I think we're just going to kind of exclude all you guys. You're at the meeting. But again, we haven't really decided how to do it. It's new. But we'll figure a way to do it. And it's not anything that because you did something wrong, if that shows up. It's just simply, we come up with some criteria when you fell into that criteria. And it's just simply, we call it an on-farm. And we're not there to tell you to change anything. We're there to encourage you and ask you, can to cheat sheet? And try to offer some bit of information that maybe you might not have that we have that could be helpful. So with that being said this morning, we appreciate you being here. Matt we're seeing now is the boundary of our coalition. It essentially from the San Joaquin River on the east all the way up to the Pacific Crest Mountains there in the north. But we're really focused in our coalition on land amount between I-5 and the river. From Mendona on the south to Tracy up north. It's kind of our boundaries. And you know those, you farm in that area. We monitor 18 different source sites. We monitor free water input sites. it puts into and go into your fields. We used to monitor 2 wetland sites. Excuse me. Now we negotiate with the regional board to get those sites off. That's just simply down, they go through little spans here, the Santa Fe Creek or the Santa Fe Canal and the San Luis Canal as well. San Luis, I want to say the drain, they put water in the drain and spread it on duck ponds. But we're no longer monitoring those. Well, as you see, we test for pesticides, general chemistry, that's pH, temperature, dissolved oxygen and other things. We also nitrates. We test for nitrates, which, if you're doing the blue corns every year, that shows up there. We do aquatic toxicity, which is what we're talking about here today. And also we test twice a year, or sediment toxicity, which is also what we're discussing today. And we send this information back from the regional board twice a year. And then annually we send a gigantic, huge, multiple 1,000-page annual monitoring report. Insane. The cost is insane. That's required, and we do that on your behalf. And then we also develop management plans. The management plans are why we're here today. This is what Focus Out is about. It's a map here of the Los Banos Creek representing Watershed. We monitor at the, China Camp, excuse me. And then we also monitor at Los Banos Creek. It's near the Los Banos there. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but we do monitor 2 places there. We monitor the mud slough and these represented areas. We do that as the mud slough drops out of the San Luis drain near Chesterton. We also we're here today with the new Wasteway and the represented Watershed, and we monitor the wasteways there at Hillsbury Road. And so because we monitor those sites, we discovered exceedance of pyrethroids at least 3 times in 2 years. And actually, it's more than that. It's chronic. I told the first group that we start monitoring for pyrethroids in March, and then we end in October. In March through October, we find pyrethroids. November, we don't find pyrethroids. December, no pyrethroids. January, February, no pyrethroids. Sometimes February, we're really not. But the logical thing is, what's happening between March and October? So the highest quality farming in the world is taking place in the Central Valley. And you're managing those farms, and you're using pyrethroids. And those pyrethroids are showing up in most months and most creeks. See, it'd be great if they only came up once in a while, but they show all the time. And so a reasonable person, a rational person can assume then that ag is having an impact. Ag is having influence with pyrethroids. Nobody uses pyrethroid chemicals like he. It's not a bad thing. I'm not complaining. I'm not saying you're wrong. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. You're required to implement water quality management practices as necessary to protect water quality prescribed for general order. In other words, you just can't put water on the ground and let it go. Just let it go where it goes without controlling it. It has to be controlled. When you apply pesticide and water it's on the ground, okay, when the pesticide's in it, you're required to hold that water so many days until the effectiveness of that chemical was gone. There's a lot of it released. We'll see here probably using zippers for irrigation methods, micro irrigation. So those kind of issues aren't a big deal unless it was stormwater. You have to control stormwater as well. I know we got some pretty big events the last 5 years. Haven't we? Major event. So that's one I was just talking about. And there's not much you can do about a 150, 75-year event. But these events where we get an inch or two in 24 hours, those are controlled in many cases. And you're required to have some kind of burnage or something that mitigates that keeps that water on your farm and doesn't move it into any kind of drain lanes. So you're required, in line with that, to implement sediment discharge effectively. We keep sediment. If it's moving off your farm, it's not beyond background levels. And then you have to implement practices and then document those practices that you've implemented. That's what the form in front of you is about today, the MPIR form, Management Practices Implementation Report. It still is what you're currently doing on your farm to mitigate for these pesticide issues. So why were these chosen? You get the letter, and I know some of you come to these meetings a lot. I mentioned earlier to another group that you come to a lot of meetings if you're one of those persons that come to a lot because you farm all over the place. You have representation in many areas, in different watersheds. So you weren't picked simply because you thought you did something off. It's just you happen to be farming at this particular watershed during this particular time. You operate a farm in one of these watersheds that we're talking about. You farm in proximity to a waterway or a drainway in the watersheds. And some of you might even say, I'm a mile and a half away from a drain. Why am I here? Well, the regional board decided that we had areas that we said were not protected, that weren't covered, that you weren't next to a waterway, so you weren't included back in 2014 or 2000 if you start doing these things. So they said you have to represent these people somehow. So because you're in one of these quote represented areas, you got included as well. And also in the last 3 years, somebody on your behalf pulled a pesticide use permit with county ag commissioners to apply pyrethroids in particular watersheds they monitor. These three that we're here discussing today, and somebody again on their behalf pulled that permit. And so based on those criteria, we said, okay, we want to invite these people to this meeting to get this discussion. And so importantly, I want you to understand, and I say this all the time, we're not accusing you of causing the pyrethroid of a toxicity exceedance. Today's meeting is simply informational and not accusatory. We're not marking you, we're not dinging you, we're just simply saying, yeah, they applied the chemical, they're in the watershed, you and all your farming friends, his neighbors, were invited to come. If they use that chemical to come to this meeting. So here's the significance. We've been monitoring these watersheds for long 10 years now. We started in 2018, so that's some of these 16 years. And there have been exceedance in water quality standards for pesticides, in particular pyrethroids, and sediment and surface water toxicity. Because we had 3 exceedances in a 2-year period, that's the criteria in the general order and water quality parameters that trigger a management plan. And a management plan is a process that we use, and we'll talk in a minute about it, what we use to fix the exceedances of these water quality standards. So it's significant to note today that the coalition has 10 years or less from the time the management plan is triggered to complete the management plan to fix the problem. So the complete of fixing these, no more exceedances. And we've been notified by the regional board that the 2-year window on some of these sites are overdue. And they want us to do more. Hence, we're doing more meat, getting extra meat, Zach, out in the field to talk on our long growers. So the coalition will get involved in the growers. We've got to get these management plans completed in a very, very short time. Starting in 2008, as I mentioned, we started planting chlorpyrifos, ozone, and methylate. We proposed the Westside family chemicals. And since 2008, we were able to greatly reduce the exceedance of it was phenomenal. But because it was a statewide issue, chlorpyrifos was banned by the state of California at the end of December of 2020. And you all know. But since we quit using chlorpyrifos, what we substituted was pyrethroid and others. So since the 10-year windows run out, we have to complete these things in months, not years. Now, the regional board is being very, I suppose you could say, generous with their enforcement. They can enforce on us right now. They don't want to. They have so much on the plate now that the last thing they want to do is be out working individually on farms. So they're asking the coalition to hurry up, do more, get it done, document these things, so we get these costs off the list. So the regional board has said there's a process to complete the requirement. And if we can't complete it, if we can't get the management plan done, there'll be consequences. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. The scale for you here is simply, these are some of the older kit up there are on top there, are these chemicals that are no longer in use. And you can see that the projections had dropped off. We had only had one CDs in several years. So we felt like we really solved the problem coming into 2020 when the chemical ban. We had pled with them, let us keep using the chemical. It's working at our here. The voice was bigger than ours and said no. But as you can see, the herbicides, now you're on oxychloroquine, and these things are just everywhere. But really, this afternoon or this morning, we're focused on pyrethroid. We've had 57 detections of 11 exceedance in the last 5 years. So it's a real problem. Water toxicity and the pyrethroids in the water and the sediment are real big issues for us, and that's why you're here today. You can see here, these are the chemicals that we discover, we detect in the sediment. And I'd like to direct you right there to that first one there, black benthrin. Probably 5 or 6 to 1. Like benthrin is the most used or the most detected chemical that we find. It goes under the name of capture, PA, Telstar, and Sniper among them. Those are sort of the names we recognize in our valley. And that's the real chemical. What we get by benthrin control, we might go a long way to solving these problems.
Verification question number 1. Question: what is one of the problems with pyrethroids? Answer: they readily bond to the soil. Again, the question: what is one of the problems with pyrethroids? The answer: they readily bond to the soil.
So, how do we complete EUPs? Well, we have to demonstrate that growers have implemented management practices that have resolved water quality problems. This requires the growers to evaluate the current farm management practices, implement new or additional practices to address water quality impacts, and it requires a greater involvement with the grower in this management plan completion process. So we're asking you to come to meetings. We're going to involve some people, we said 50 this year, with on-farm inspections and interviews. And again, this is part of this process to complete these management plans. So the process is the data that we collect from water quality has to demonstrate that we haven't had exceedances of the chemical in question for at least 3 years. I want to drop this bit on you, this next line here. You're responsible for third-party applicators spraying on your pond. Meaning custom, you hire someone to come in and do a custom spray job. Maybe you do it yourself. But if it's a third party, you are responsible for what that operator is doing on your farm. You're responsible to make sure that you're doing all the practices that they should be doing that are on the label for the chemical that are registered by the EPA or registered with EPA to make sure they're spraying the chemical correctly on your farm according to the label instruction. I would encourage you to discuss these pyrethroid exceedances with your custom spraying service. And again, if you're doing it for yourself, your own farm, your own equipment, make sure you're talking each time that guy goes out, and somebody is talking with that applicator that look at, we're getting hit by these exceedances. Make sure you're following the practices you're supposed to be doing correct. These guys are trained. They go to training in Milwaukee to keep their applicator license up to date. So they know these things. We just need to make sure that they're doing the best of our ability. The completion process also means we have to document this education and the outreach efforts, which is why we're here today, folks. We're documenting this process and say, yeah, we realize these 3 watersheds had issues. We began the process by bringing the growers using these chemicals. And we had some education and some discussion today. So we're documenting that, and that's the first step of the process. Another step in the process is that a year from today, You're going to receive in the mail, just like you got that NPIR form, you're going to receive a follow-up from PIR. And if you had chipped on any box that said, yeah, I'm going to do something additional, we're going to send you a form. Did you do that additional practice? Did you follow up with that? And then we're going to answer yes or no. If you answer yes, good. And I think they call our date, you did it. And then you can send that back to us. If you didn't implement it, then there's a line here to simply give us a one-line explanation of it may be that I changed the crop, whatever, our times, this wasn't practical, whatever. You put something there to let us know. And we're reporting this back to the regional board why they weren't able to implement this practice. And so we also, as part of the process, we keep monitoring the watershed and make sure that the chemical impact does not be detected anymore. We monitor your on-farm practices. You see that every 5 years, the farm evaluation plan that you're going to be getting one at the end of this next year in 2025. That will be due in 2026, I believe, it's April 15, 2026. But when we have to collect that data, and also understand, whenever we talk about a report or I send things to the regional board, almost never is your name, your DBN, or your farm identified. It's all anonymous. Generally it's associated with the township. We're in 6 square miles. But what's going on in that township? But again, you're required to use forms so that we can, again, aggregate the data, put it all together, make it makes sense with an analysis, and then send it anonymized to the regional board. So here we mentioned earlier about consequences, both in outcomes. If the executive officer of a regional board determines inadequate progress, meaning we didn't hit the timeline, they say enough time's elapsed, they feel like they step in on purpose to do something more, first thing we would ask, were the on-site verification of management practices and evaluation of patterns. So as I discussed earlier, for instance, Zach out to 15 sites towards the end of the year, and just had a discussion and a little interview with the grower. They're going to come out with a team. We're going to go to your site and we're going to notify you. That you know they're coming, you'll schedule a date. They're going to come out, they're going to have some professionals go all over your farm and find out what you're doing and determine if that's adequate enough to allow you in front of it here. And it may think your farm is hitting the mark and protecting water quality. And we're going to, write you a letter saying you're good, and then we'll go down to the next one. They're not going to be doing that right away. That's a lot of work on their part. Second thing they could do is they could cause the coalition to develop and implement an edge of field monitoring system. That's where we're going to go first. That's what they're going to do, because that's something they can delegate in coalition. That's something then that they can make you pay your fees to the cause. We're going to do a study plan to characterize its commodity-specific discharge and determine if new management practice for growers to implement. We're going to have to hire people in that no more than 80 of us in a room. I don't know if they're farmers necessarily, but they're educating people of these types of things, agronomists and everything, crop advisors and such. And they're going to make us do studies. And what you'll have to notify us that, hey, on this day I'm applying a chemical. And we're going to come out and we're going to do studies on your farm and others. It'll be commodity specific. And then after the studies are done and determine what kind of a new practice does the farm need to implement. So we don't have these seeds, extremely expensive. And I got to tell you, not even be a farmer, I can imagine you'll have to less vigorously farm the land. They're already talking about not putting as much chemical on more. Just again, I'm just thinking it's going to cost growers not just money and time, but it's going to cost you profit and end as you're not going to be able to produce as much fruit. And again, I have no knowledge of that, and it just seems reasonable. That's what these studies are going to lend us. You don't want. And the last thing they could do is the nuclear option. They can revoke coalition coverage from individual policy. and required to report a waste discharge. Currently, you're covered under a blanket report of waste discharge under the codes. We call it the general order. That should permit the farm plow. And if you didn't know you needed permit farm plow since the 1960s, for years they waived. It's called the gag waivers. In 2003, they decided they're going to go more incidents, monitoring, reporting, and hence where we're at today. But look, we don't want them revoking recovery and making you come and have to deal individually with these guys. So here's what we can do to not make that happen. The best way is to comply with current regulation.
Verification question number 2. Question: what is the number 1 pyrethroid used in the coalition? The answer: bifenthrin brigade. Question again: what is the number 1 pyrethroid used in the coalition? The answer: bifenthrin brigade.
You do that by eliminating discharges from their fields. And it's important to address stormwater discharges as well. You have to complete the focused outreach survey with what you currently implement and mark any additional practices you intend to implement next year to protect water quality. So this morning, it cutting is the bull of what I want to say. And I'd like to introduce you, if I could, this morning to Mr. Courtney Jallo of Cure. She's going to come and make a presentation to us this morning.
My name is Courtney. I work with Cures. It's a nonprofit coalition for urban, rural, environmental stewardship. And you're my colleagues Alanise. And normally we're also with our boss Carrie causing me Yonti Katsu's draw ratings, EGX competitions. It can be here today. So obviously. Are they getting right, couple? So so Cures is a nonprofit. We do a lot of outreach and stewardship programs trying to help growers improve management practices. So I'll be talking with you today about some management practices you could do to protect surface water quality. Because it's just we work with the Westside Coalition and our 150 years of these outreach surveys, as environmental pace. We do really want to encourage you to return those surveys. We used to spend a lot of time calling and emailing people, training in them, or return these garbage. But you're here today, so just drop it off quickly. And I'm going to start with just a brief profile of neonics and hydrophorates. I know you're all very familiar with these, but I just want to show a little contrast between the two so you can understand why we talk so much about sediment, preventing sediment from out, or preventing sediment from meaning and warm. Because neonicotinoids are too general insecticides last year. Neonicotinoids dissolve in water. They very easily get carried through water. They travel through the plant system. They're very mobile in water. Hydrophores of Vatican are very hydrophobic. They're going to adhere very tightly to the soil particles. So anytime you had a lot of sediment runoff, you're carrying large amounts of hydrophoric in that sediment. So very specifically, in the C side of things, you must know that if I apply pyrethroids, it's in that sediment. So for our care focus today, we're going to be talking about transport mechanisms for pesticide into surface water. There are generally 3 types of transport mechanisms. The first being irrigation runoff, typically through sprinkler and furrow irrigation. This is all the water coming out of your field, going through a waterway. The second is stormwater runoff. I know we don't have quite as much of that here in the Westside, but I will mention in the last 5 years, there have been some large beds. So when very large storms are coming, it's important to be there. This storm is coming, so definitely do not apply any products prior to the storm. Don't spray the organ sprays right before you know rain is coming. I believe you all have glory rain yesterday or today. We had yesterday inside, but Hollywood make chaotic events. But just be very conscious of when the rain is coming. Rain your sprays accordingly so that you're not putting product out there right if when the rain comes and washes it all over the waterway. And then the last point is spray drift. And this is something we'll talk quite a bit about today because this seems to be one of the bigger issues here. Gates in the water pigs. So we're talking about orchard air blast spray and spray that blows into the waterway. one thing you mentioned, so if you're using a product, it will say on the label what the buffer is. Like, number you have to be away from the water rate in order to apply that product. So be aware when your other feeders are going on and make sure you have a making set up so that, if you have trees that are X number of feet with a distance when rate that is spraying me. And then, of course, try to definitely not just try to make sure you are spraying your products when the wind is going away from water. So if you can see your wind direction, it's make on an app on your plane in a wind direction. Don't be spraying those outer rows, but all the way. Particularly this language direction of the water. This is an image just kind of showing you how research studies that it's sort of measured how far spray Europe will out, and we find that spray Europe will out equals to 300 feet for all types of trees, wind foliage, and foliage. So the top black line is showing trees with no foliage, dormant apples that is relative characteristics behind these excisions to capture like the spray. The green line is when you have foliage. So different times of the year, you'll see spray direct foliage more or less, and they're not foliage. But regardless of the time of year, the drink can still happen to go out even 350. So it's really important that you manage the outer rows that are near sensitive areas and spray that and the really old water. So, despite all of our best management, a little sidewire warning: if your field has irrigation or storm drainage, and or you're spraying and there's drips, any products that you're using is highly likely to be and take out waterway. If it does enter that waterway, the cone sheet is going to find it. So on monitoring that Opa talked about, they will see it. It's not going to go unnoticed. So just side note here, it doesn't really matter which card to apply. If you're using a method of just switching products, cooking to keep your seat low, doesn't work like that. Product substitution will only shake the power table actions of problems. So it's really important that rather than, I must mix it up this kind, the different light, over as well, you actually have to infiltrate it better beyond your costs. So you mitigate any products to lay into the wild, which we'll be talking about next. So getting into some of our best management practices, we'll start with managing drift. So really looking at his accessible sites that are near your wire. You really want to watch your wind speed and direction and spraying the areas that leave an adequate buffer zone between the water and the trees that you're spraying. Again, check the chronic bayal for that zone. And then also adjust the nozzles that are put them onto the largest nozzle size that you can, in order to prevent sprays and blowing out too far. So the larger the droplet size, the less distance that spray will go. They're looking at air blast sprayers. So I guess it's a air blow and spray it when the lead is away from the waterway. Turn on the nozzle only when entering your field. So this is a pretty easy practice to adopt. We do see a lot of time for applicators, and they turn everything on and then, near field mix blow, get everything set up and then head into the field. But it's really important that you get into the field all the way, then turn your nozzle on. And then when you're turning on the rows, turn everything up before you make a turn, and then turn the nozzle back on so that you're not dripping on the outside of the field where you but actually just drain out this with the touch or what. So here's a lot of research in the spray group management, and one thing that we found to be very successful is what we'll call air series perimeter spraying. This is essentially when you use two sprayers that are dragging parallel on the outside rows. So sprayer A is in between the rows of trees, and they're going, they're spraying as well. Sprayer B in this image is on the outer row on the outside of the orchard. They bought everything churned off on the outside facing the waterway, and they're blowing only air inwards. So it's called air is right. So they're using that air in to keep all of the product from the sprayer with A spray inside the portion. We did a lot of trials, you think 6 years or 8 years here in the Central Valley. And we consistently found that only rapid oxygenator bird when her spraying the really got the. This graph shows different tree stands and the comparison between them. So we found air in spring, which is the one in the third from line, was most affected at would you say spring correct? Reduced it by that many percent. And if you would like to see more information on airburst murder strain, you have a lot of videos on our website. We have a very quick 3-minute video that explains the various CK. We've got some brochures on it. I encourage you to check out yourmarks.org for some more occasional management practices. And I can use as well as the exchange staff.
Verification question number 3. Question: are growers responsible for their third-party pesticide applicators? The answer: yes, yes, and yes. Question again: are growers responsible for their third-party pesticide applicators? Again, the answer: yes, yes, and yes.
Another thing we found when we were doing this research is that hovering the outside manifold, I'm going to say you developed a manifold shroud. We used a piece of plexiglass and we zip-tied it onto the outside manifold. And that was also very effective at preventing any sprayers and staking. When you just wait, here you're using one sprayer and you're going on that outside edge, spray inward and put plexiglass on the outside edge so that the air that you're spraying doesn't blow out toward walkway. In terms of row crop sprayer, which is less common here than in our males, and I use mother or another crop that care. Equally as important as in spray drip than the type of sprayer. So a couple of key points: it began nozzle pressure to high pressure if you need to optimize movement. Control your driving speed. Make sure your applicators are not going too fast, which you'll use your incessant drift. And then again, turning your nozzles off the boom when never they're near range. Another branch of practice is really controlling your mixing and loading sites. Try to do these in areas that are far away from septic sites like waterways or drainage ditches. Try to keep them up gradients if possible. And rating and would say on the field, don't drain it out to a waterway in the field they need to. Or you could use it in the next batch. On one possible management strategy is tailwater retention farm. Think of feet centered on the farm. So it's a little bit challenging to implement. You got the space for it. It's very helpful to put outside a sheet or set it there. And collect, and especially if they're could be stormwater drainage. Another idea is the route, or another option here is the regional recirculation system. So if they're one near the Marshall Road Reservoir, you guys will Peru, they might seeing this one as you got it now. So here the grower cooperates to manage this drainage system and collect drainage from your field altogether. And they can either recirculate it on field soil or the soil. Similarly, you can do your own recirculation system on a farm. To prevent discharge, can recirculate the tailwater back into your oil course, right? Gives another image of water recirculation. In this picture, we can see that there's drain water on the left pipe, and then on the right-hand side is well water that's being mixed into diluted to the tailwater and either work oil. Another option is implementing vegetated ditches. I don't see this a lot in this area, but it is one possible strategy where you actually grow specific vegetation in that ditch. It can help capture semi as its right cap ditch. So that vegetation is actually water. And then polycarbonate is tablets. Actually, there's a dispenser mechanisms that will dispense the circulating tablets that help populate or precipitate the sediments in the water. So you see on the left, there's sort of chocolate milk with the water that's untreated, and the app has been treated with PAM on your color line. and the sediment draws out and you just see bit of water flowing. So that actually helps draw up the Kyrie grades that are attached to that sediment, keep them sinking in the clear walkable flow. So in comparison, if you're thinking about what is the best option, I don't think there's a universal best option, that you just have to know what works at your farm, what works through your fields, what your situation is. If you have stormwater drainage management, how you might be able to situate that and capture stormwater, or how you capture your irrigation waters if that can go in on farm. Generally, the three best approaches are managing application prior to the drainage period, managing the runoff, and treating the drainage job. So that's almost our concluding today. Our goal, Jersey's goal in our pesticide stewardship program is to help you understand these management practices and be able to tailor that to your own situations. Take on anything you could take on. We also encourage you to put your management plans and try new strategies that you can be proactive with and be responsive. Talk to your neighbors, find out what's worked at them, see what other people are doing, and you find a solution you can bring your con closer to making more quality issues. And then just one final slide, semi-related. Shares also have a lot of information on nutrient management, nitrogen management, and some videos on our website. We'd also like to encourage you to check out that possibly very helpful in Hawaii. And then just another quick to fill out that survey. I think that's it. Anyone have any questions? Oh, right, thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. So it's real important this morning that we do what we can to mitigate these pesticide detections, the exceedances. We talked about sediment. And if you think about sediment and the chemical erythroids together, think of the sediment and the chemical as magnets. That the sediment or the soil will be negatively charged and the pesticide will be positively charged. So they are and that's exactly what happens. They're called cations and anions. Don't ask me to explain it any more than that. I could, but I don't want to bore you. They attract each other, they connect, and they're hard to, they will unconnect. They stay together until the chemical is completely dissolved away and it's no longer an anion. So that's why we're really focusing on sediment, manage that, and you'll manage the chemical in the ground. So remember to, you got to manage your drift from ground applications, watch wind speed direction, leave an adequate buffer zone between trees and waterways. I want to say here in California with pyrethroids, is it 25 feet minimum? Does anyone know? 50 feet or 35? But it's on the label, and it's something that's easily discernible. We have to make sure that we're doing that. I told the group this morning that when I talk to growers, I say, well, yeah, we're doing everything right. My growers are 100% certified. We do everything right, and I'm not denying it. When I go to Highway 43 in the Hanford-Fresno area, I go from Fresno down 99 to 43 through Selma and the Hanford. And when I get about halfway between Selma and Hanford, there's a vineyard. And that vineyard, whenever they're spraying, if I catch that guy coming out of a row, he blasts whatever's in that cape on my windshield. Every now and then I can smell the pesticide. I don't know what it is, but you know that smell. And so when a grower says, yeah, I know they're doing it right, well, I know that guy isn't doing it right. I know, I'm not going to lay that on you. All your folks are doing perfectly right. Look, I just ask it, double those efforts, if you would, to talk with these guys that are spraying the chemical on their land to make sure they're doing it correctly according to the league.
Thank you for watching this video, and remember to transfer the 3 answers to the video verification form, and using the instructions on the form, return it to the coalition. If you need assistance, you can contact me at the contact information on this slide. Again, thank you very much for your participation.